Alright, we're going to read here on page 98, Anaerobic Training and Electromyography Studies, EMG, skipped neuromuscular junction and neuromuscular reflex potentiation. I love it, but we're skipping. EMG, electromyography, is a common research tool used to examine the magnitude of neural activation following training. An increase in EMG indicates greater neural activation. However, the precise mechanism, i.e. increased recruitment rate or synchronization, Golgi tendon inhibition, there's a good one, cannot be determined using surface EMG. Several EMG studies have examined the effects of resistance and power training during periods of at least 5 weeks to over 1 year. Collectively, these studies have shown strength and power increases of up to 73%. Approximately 70% of these studies have demonstrated increases in EMG following the training period, whereas the remaining 30% have not shown changes in EMG. An important consideration is the training status of the individual. Neural adaptations, improved motor learning and coordination, predominate early in training without significant increases in muscle hypertrophy. The onset of muscle hypertrophy is associated with declines in EMG. Thus, with advancement in training, it appears that there exists an interplay between neural and hypertrophic mechanisms that contributes to further gains in strength and power. In studies describing this relationship, Saul reported that dramatic increases in neural adaptations take place early in the training program, 6 to 10 weeks. As the duration of training increases greater than 10 weeks, muscle hypertrophy eventually occurs and contributes more than neural adaptations due to the strength and power gains observed. Although muscle hypertrophy eventually plateaus, if the athlete includes variation and progressive overload in training, neural adaptations will contribute to subsequent performance improvements. This pattern appears to replicate as training continues. As the athlete progresses in training, the type of program used may be one of the most important factors to consider. Neural factors may be especially important for strength gains in programs of very high intensity, greater than 85% of 1 rep max. Power training also appears to provide a potent stimulus to the nervous system and results in higher EMG post-training. Electromyography studies have also yielded some interesting findings regarding neural adaptations to anaerobic training. So cross-education occurs. That is, training only one limb can result in an increase in strength in the untrained limb. A recent review of the literature has shown that strength in the untrained limb may increase up to 22%. Hey, Dave! 22, with an average strength increase of about 8%. The increase in strength in the untrained limb is accompanied by greater EMG, thereby suggesting that a central neural adaptation accounts for most of the strength gains. Let's see. In untrained individuals, a bilateral deficit occurs. This means that the force produced when both limbs are contracting together is less than the sum of the forces they produce when contracting unilaterally. Research has shown that the corresponding EMG is lower during bilateral contractions. This suggests that neural mechanisms are, at least in part, contributing factors. The bilateral deficit is reduced with bilateral training. The muscle activity of the antagonist during agonist movements has been shown to change in response to anaerobic training. Co-contraction of agonist muscles is a mechanism to increase joint stability and reduce the risk of injury. However, too much antagonist activity can oppose agonist movement and therefore provide resistance to maximal force production. Anaerobic training has produced variable responses in antagonist muscle contraction. Some studies have shown reduced antagonist contraction following resistance training, whereas others do not demonstrate a change. In addition, sprint and plyometric training have been shown to change the timing of co-contraction activation. Although the specific role of altering antagonist co-contraction patterns is unclear, it does not appear that the adaptations enhance force and power production and injury prevention. That is, greater antagonist activity may be seen during ballistic movements in which joint stability is a prime concern, but may be reduced during phases in which force production is needed and joint stability is sufficient. It does appear that antagonist co-contraction is higher when people who are unfamiliar with the task. That's pretty good. Pretty smart, huh? No, that was page 98 and 99. That was anaerobic training and electromyography studies. That whole section. All right, 98 and 99. See ya.